Here we go. Welcome back to another Habs Weekly Recap with the hockey coach, your coach Frenchy directly for the beautiful country of Thailand. And we have the boat all back in the house tonight. It's directly from Toronto, Mr. Nartap. And from Hawkesbury, Mr. Marco Larabi in the house.
Good
Welcome,
evening, everyone.
Hockey Nation. Gentlemen.
Welcome, both of you. Ready to rock and roll the Sunday night recap, Montreal Canadiens. Finally, the hockey is back. I don't know if you enjoy the boat game you watch on the weekend. We have a lot of things to talk about. Of course, many other news around the league in NHL. But before we start, we're going to welcome everybody. Is try to stay on the schedule. And so we try to do my best to carry on this all the way to 10:30. And then at the end, we're going to do a quick Frenchy Quiz. So we get out at least not over 2 hours max. This is the we try to accomplish for the every time we do a show. Sunday night is the Wednesday night. It's all about Montreal Canadiens. Wednesday night is the hockey Habs locker room report. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few people knock the door. So we're going to welcome some of them. Roger Calabro knocked the door with its fun news around the NHL and the NFL. It's big Sunday football today. And then we have our friend Sébastien is in the house. Following by Mr. Gary Cournoyer, the road runner, is in the house tonight, ready to rock and roll, sit in the living room and waiting for the show start. We have Leo Renault back in the house. Leon become a regular with us every single time he show up with us. Thanks so much to be with the Hockey Nation show. We appreciate a lot. Very nice for you to be with us. We have RJ, Sebastien talk each other. Con Rob is in the house tonight, back in the house. We miss him a couple of times. It's on the week, but he's back. Jake McGanwy knocked the door. Directly somewhere, somehow around the world. Claude Richard from Ottawa is with us tonight. Finally, Luciano Graziano is in the house tonight, moderator of the Hockey Nation Live Show. Couple of conversation. RDP from Newfoundland is in the house tonight. Buffalo Sabres fans number one. Then we have Tony the Dogger. No, Tony the Mark is in the house. Welcome, stop by. Our friend King of Gamer. Hopefully he's feel better. And we know he was sick the last couple of days. Back in the house. Welcome back, Mr. King of Gamer. And that's what we got so far. So we got everybody now. We're going to start very slowly, but we're going to have a few people. We're going to knock the door for sure the next couple of minutes. And before we start, we're going to give you all the subject we have and what happenings on the weekend with my Hockey Nation App Nation. So let's see what we got for you guys. First of all, I don't know, but 23 days before the season starts. And the favorite player of Mr. Nartap, Bob Gainey, is in the house with us tonight. And then we have the Habs Weekly Recap Prospect Camp. And we talk about the highlights, the news, the update, what happening in the last 7 days around the Montreal Canadiens. And then I create some kind of resume. I start to do this. Hopefully I will do it all year long. But I give you a resume of the game every morning. You wake up in the morning, 6 a.m. You can turn on the Hockey Nation. You get a resume of the Montreal Canadiens, their last game. And then I do one in French. So we have a Ad Nation. If you go on that new channel, we carry on. It's going to be a little bit more in French, most of the video, but I make another video. It was the resume of the game for the Montreal Canadiens. If you don't know, but you can subscribe at this channel. It's called the Ad Nation. This is the place you're going to hear a lot more about the prospect, the players talking about prospect. I don't know if you know that. Mr. Nartap and Marco. Vincent Rohrer scored his first goal professional hockey with the Swiss Hockey League with his team, the Zurich Lions, on the weekend. So first goal already for Rohrer. Great to hear about that. We have a few people knock the door, guys. And finally, if you want to join the fantasy hockey, we are almost full. So hurry up. And I know Luciano is going to carry on some kind of link in the chat tonight about the apparel. And then we are affiliate now with the NHLshop.com. So this another thing we just had. And don't forget, the September 22nd, we have an interview recording with Stu Coleman. If you want to have any question for Stu Coleman, you send us an email at hnlswarmup and at gm.com. Put in the title Sue Cohen and ask a question. I'm going to pick a couple of questions from those email, and we're going to ask this to Sue Cohen, is the reporter for the Montreal Canadiens. What would the Gazette been in the round of Montreal Canadiens for about 30, 35 years? And he's going to give us some story about the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Expos. He's been with the Montreal Expos for many, many years as a reporter too. So pretty well known in the hockey world if you follow the Montreal Canadiens. So that's it. That's all. Before we welcome Mr. KLS and knock the door. KLS, thanks to be with us tonight. KLS followed the crazy game between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings on the weekend. I think final score was 10-8, something like that. Fantilli already have approved his deserve to play in NHL, a 7.2 game. And then what about Connor Bedard? Score a hat trick already at his first game. So you have some concern about the size of Connor Bedard. I think you should reconsider that. He just proved it.
What about people who had concern about the size of Alexandre Dumet for Columbus?
Yes, that's another one. Did another great for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Did draft late. I think it was 96, I believe, 98. Just the pick after Adam Ekstrom from the Montreal Canadiens, if I can recall it properly, in 2022. But,
no. Well, he was drafted. He was in the last draft, Dumet.
I'm sorry?
He was in the last draft, so Engstrom, that was the year before, right?
Yeah. It was this year, Dumet? I think it was the year before that.
No, Dumet, I think, was this year.
Really?
Oh, no, it was Perron this year. Yeah. Sorry, Dumet was last. Yeah, you're right.
2 years.
Yeah.
Right. 2 years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Very impressive.
That's okay. Not big deal. Before we start everything, guys, we're going to talk about the big news of the day in NHL. And then after that, we're going to carry on with the Montreal Canadiens subject. And we start a kind of new, not a new game, a new subject for all the three. We have our own headlines for the Montreal Canadiens for the recap of the week. And so we're going to go through that after we talk. Of course, if you don't know what's going on, but I make a video, by the way. I did not put this there, but... honestly, Babcock is out. Vincent is in for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I want to hear a little bit more about what you think about that situation for both of you. And then after that, we're going to move on for the weekly recap for the Montreal Canadiens. So let's start with Marco Larrabee about the situation with Mike Babcock with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, it was a very interesting situation. Like it reminded me a little bit of, in the green room before we get ready, coach likes to get us motivated and tries to bond with us. And he gets us to try to send him pictures on our phone. He sends us pictures on his phone, but coach, like the only pictures I've ever seen on your phone is cheese. I don't know if it means anything weird, but it's all just pictures of cheese. I don't know what it means, but so it reminded me a little bit of that. But in all seriousness, like what a disaster, right? Like I think really what it comes down to is, some people are going to roll their eyes, but it's all about, it's the power of control, right? Like, or having power, being a coach and being in a position of power like that. You had Boone Jenner and you have Johnny Gaudreau and probably other veteran players who wouldn't, even think twice about saying no to a coach in that kind of position. But if you're a young player or if you're a player on the fourth line, and you feel uncomfortable that if you say no to the coach, then it might affect your career. With all the things that have happened in the last couple of years, it's a power dynamic, right? So I'm assuming that's kind of where the investigation led the NHLPA and why it went from a nothing burger, where when Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau came out, gave their statements, I think everybody was satisfied with that answer, and it was kind of going to go away. But then, it came out some of the younger players or some bottom line players weren't comfortable. They were very uncomfortable in that situation. So I think that's kind of where things kind of turned for Babcock. But really, what's surprising is Jarmo Kekalainen gets out of this unscathed, right? Like, it should be an interesting year for Columbus. Like, I think they're going to take a step forward this year. Like, I think their young players are due to make a step. But certainly this doesn't help. But sometimes something like this, coach, it can turn the other way. Remember last year everybody, was talking about the Jets, about how much of a disaster that was going to be because of the locker room issues and everything else. And what I said then is the same thing I'll say now about Columbus. Sometimes when things go really badly in the dressing room, it acts as kind of like a method for people to bond together and work together. It's kind of like us against the world. So maybe that's something that happens with Columbus. It gives them something to kind of bond over at the beginning of the year, something for them to kind of like help them kind of like bond together as a team and prove the world wrong. So we'll see how it plays out, but definitely a dramatic turn of events. Babcock is, I guess, now the Bobby Bonilla of like head coaches in the NHL. I guess like just gets paid for doing nothing. So good for him, I guess. But
Well
Intertot.
said. Well said. Enough that.
Well, what's the old saying about a leopard not changing its spots? I mean, in a way, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. There has to be that realization. I think that today's athletes are not the same athletes as they once were. It's just a generational thing. The way you have to treat players is unique in every way, shape, and form. And as Marco was saying, maybe some players it's something that is natural to them, or are not bothered by that kind of a request. But in most cases, some of the newer, younger rookies and players, it does strike a nerve, and I think that that's exactly what happened here. I think they really wanted to investigate the situation further because it's not a one and out kind of thing. It's happened not only in Toronto, it's happened to a lesser degree in Detroit, and you look at what Babcock has done here, and there's there's no denying that he's going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he's a great coach from the perspective of results and what he's accomplished, not only with teams like Detroit but also with Team Canada. But that does not make him necessarily a good person, and his antics are reprehensible in my view in terms of the way he handles this. I feel you can be a tough coach. There were a lot of tough coaches, and there currently still are in the NHL. You look at a Sutter, a Tortorella, you look at Al Arbor and Bowman. They were all tough. You ask those hockey players, but the one thing that they had was a common respect for each other. And in this case, I think Babcock crosses the line because if you have something to say to a player, I think that's fine. I mean, your approach is your approach. I get that. And if you go out there and you say to a player, look, I think you played horribly tonight. You want me to tell you 5 reasons why? And you give them the plain truth and you hit them right between the eyes with that truth, that's fine. But to do it in a
Mind
conniving
games.
manner where you
Mind
mind
games with guys.
games, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And you're putting young players in situations that they feel uncomfortable with, and then you make sure that things leak out. And hey, you know what he said about you? Well, of course, it's going to have repercussions not only with the team but amongst the players themselves. So it's unfortunate that it unraveled in the manner in which it did. I mean, he didn't even see the first game, or let alone the first exhibition game. But I think he's kind of signed his own contract that I sincerely doubt that anybody will touch him again in the NHL level, anyways.
No.
Well, so everybody, I think I'll give you another dimension of that situation. For me, is like, first of all, teaching us, like, if happened to Mike Babcock, yeah, no chance Joel can build back in the NHL. That's simple. Why? Because they cannot make any mistake. They will be already get nailed a hammer every time. They will be make only a small mistake. So at some point, Babcock, he could not take anything. He could not do anything because he would be always be remembered, and if someone's going to step up every time he does something where maybe are a little bit concerned about that one over there. So for me, this is the one where I feel like it would be very hard if you makes a mistake in NHL, you get punished for anything happening. I like Stan Bowman, whatever you carry on, so kind of situation. A little bit like I'm going to extremist, but if Logan Mayu does something wrong at some point, like I don't know, driving, like I don't know, like just drunk, something like that, whatever happening, I will be amplified many bigger because this ghost people did it, and that would be something they won't remember. This happening at the same week where the Hockey Canada is going to release their statement about the players. I feel like NHL is coming with that situation too. So it's getting low. I think the NHL didn't want to take. I think it was the NHL was involved with the NHLPA, and we have to take a blame too at the same time with Columbus Blue Jacket, the GM and the organization and the owner at that moment. Why? Because they should know when they hired Babcock, this situation could be remember a reminder to all the fans at some point in hockey about backup. And I think that's everybody. At the end of the day, this is the best situation for everybody, where backup go back home, right? And then we have a new head coach in NHL where I feel like why to go recycling the hockey world, right? The NFL usually you become head coach and then you get fired, you find an assistant coach somewhere in NHL. Some head coach have difficult time to make the transition to head coach to back to assistant coach. For some reason, I don't know why, hockey versus football, but I feel like this is some way the head coach should be that way in NHL. Finally, for me, it's all about now to move on for the next upcoming season. I would say to you, Marco, that remind me a lot the situation with Patrick Roy. And Avalanche never recovery for that moment when Patrick Roy left the Avalanche a couple of weeks before the season. I know said Columbus are going to have a bad year because, as you said to me, in October, they're going to get 75 points. But I feel like this is where they will have a difficult time. The only good news, but it's only good news. Uh, Pascal Vincent been working with the Columbus Blue Jacket for advisor many years with them. I was head coach prior to that hiring, and then he was Winnipeg Jets for many years. So yeah, you know what I mean. Like he's been there. He know what's going on with the team. It's not like a stranger, a new coach coming from any other organization pop up at this team. Where Jared Bettner, when he picked up, I don't think so. He was coming from the
No,
Colorado Avalanche. I think he was coming from other organization.
college.
So
He's coming from college. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like this is a good, there will be some transition a little bit more smooth for the Columbus Blue Jacket. But again, I don't disregard what happening to back up. What I said is the organization should take a blame at the same time
Absolutely.
for that situation. And
Yarmo is probably already on a very short leash, right? Like he's, there's some questionable calls there, since he's been there. Like everybody called him brave when he let all those UFAs walk, like Bobrovsky and who else did he let Panarin walk and all that? So, an own rental, I guess is what they call it, to make a run in the playoffs. That's a costly decision, right? Like definitely put them behind a couple years. But they made the right choice. They got Pascal Vincent. You never know; they could have hired Ken Hitchcock to replace Mike Babcock. So at least they didn't double down and make the same kind of mistake.
Bruce Boudreau.
Well,
yeah.
hey, Bruce
So
Boudreau, at least he's a coach's. He's like a player's coach,
Yeah.
at least, right? But
Yeah,
you bring in like
absolutely.
Mike, you bring in Mike Keenan or Ken Hitchcock or somebody like that, right? Like
Yeah.
hard ass game guy.
Bruce is actually very good with the young kids, and that's. But you know what? For Pascal Vincent, that's good. I'm glad he's getting his opportunity. Just one last thing is, when you're interviewing Babcock, you would think that would be one of your questions, perhaps in the interview. And
He's a good
how have you learned
he's
from this experience?
He's a good salesman, though. Like that's the thing with these coaches, right? Like we've talked about this before. Head coaches have to be amazing salespeople, right? So if you're Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson, Mike Babcock is a pretty impressive guy, right? Like he can be very persuasive and all that, right? So he probably went into that interview and he probably nailed the interview, right? And Jarmo Kekalainen is under a lot of pressure to take the next step with Columbus. So you can understand the psychology behind why they would want to go with an experienced coach, because they feel like they need to take a step, but just obviously from the right decision.
Here we go. We have a few people knock the door, so we're going to go slightly to get welcome back them. Dan Asham is in the house. The triple W is in the house tonight. Thanks to be with our Canadian Live show. My friend Roger, the NHL, knocked the door. Thanks to be. And then our Sharks from Nashville downtown at the Bruinns Corner Arena is right there, waiting for the Predators. Our friend Mark D699 is in the house. They talk about this Smith or Allen, what they were racked for Samuel Girard or Valerie Nikoshkin. On that one over there.
Done.
If you want trouble, you bring Nikoshkin, but I would be not sure about that one over there. And if you bring Samuel Girard,
Sure.
left defenseman, copycat with Lane Hudson, I don't think so that we're helping them, but we can talk about this a bit more. Leon said that Pascal Vincent was the coach on his hometown. About that one over there. So there'll be a couple of people just talk about some things in the chat. As I see, we pick up everybody else. Don't look like everything is fine, so that's looking good. Nicolas de Gouby-Bonneau est de retour avec nous ce soir. Nicolas de Gouby-Bonneau. All thanks again to be with us. Don't forget to click on the likes.
Happy birthday.
Coach, I'm always very impressed. I'm always very impressed on how quickly you can say his name. I'm not going to try to. I can say Nicolas de Gouby-Bonneau. But it's how quickly you say that.
And then we have our friend the Bunny. The Bunny House is in the house. The Bunny House, Joshua will make the team. Welcome, Bon Point Coach, Provo de Girard. You're welcome, Mark. Everything on that. So we said we start a new things every Sunday, Wednesday night. A little bit like other program doing on the TV show at the Antichambre, the headlines for all the three of us. And we're going to do this right away here. And we're going to start with the first one here. Is coming from Mr. Inartap. Talk about the Habs Prospect. Trust or no trust? So we approximately, we'll give you a little bit more time. So usually they have 30 seconds. They always pass the time. So we'll give you 1 minute. I expect 2 minutes from you, Mr. Inartap.
Sure. The reason why I called it trust or no trust is because pretty much we saw two different games played by our rookies over the past couple of days. After that rough start, the 6-3 loss against the Sabres in the first match, we saw that they pretty much were dominated in many aspects of the game, and we saw a lot of the I guess liabilities that they demonstrated last year and the year before coming through again. Like their power play was not very effective. I think they were 0 for 6. They didn't really generate too much offensively. They were losing faceoffs. The goaltending kind of kept them in there because I thought for the most part Dobes didn't have a fantastic game, but he had a good game that at least kept them in there for quite a while. And then, and we saw some players really have a rough start to it. And I'm talking about guys like Logan Melo, who really struggled on Friday. But against the Bruins, we saw a marked improvement there as well. I think a lot of it has to do with maybe nerves as well, but you can tell that he still needs at least a year of work in the AHL before he's NHL ready. And then we saw, the second game against the Bruins, and they came out with a convincing 4-1 win, much better team effort. The goaltending again was very solid. I thought that Miller was, made some fantastic saves at different points in the matchup. And so, my question or my statement was generated around what should we trust? Should we trust Friday night or should we trust Saturday night in terms of where we're at in the developmental process? And I think the answer lies somewhere in between, right? What we have to keep track of and not lose sight of is the fact that the teams that they played. And you look at Buffalo, and for many years they've been, in the lower part of the standings. And so over the years, they've obviously accumulated a lot of good draft picks, some good prospects, and now it's finally coming to the forefront. And we saw that, they have some excellent players. Whereas in Boston's case, they've pretty much always been a playoff team and always at the top of the league, or at least the East, and they haven't really acquired many great picks. As a matter of fact, if we look at the game that they played, Boston had 9 players who were never drafted in their lineup. They only had one single first round pick, and it was a 21st overall pick that they had, and only 3 players that have skated at the AHL level. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is we have to take it slowly, and we have to look at our own level that we're reaching. And as long as they're doing the little things right, our players, then that means a lot, because we're moving in the right direction. But you can clearly see that we still have a ways to go.
Coach, before we move on to my headline, am I allowed to give my point of view on Intertap's headline?
Or do you move Go ahead, Marco. Go ahead. Yeah. Just do it. No, don't ask.
He's not even listening to us anyway. So
I know.
So well, hold on. Before I want to comment. I want to comment on his headline first. So just rewind back to his headline. So interesting points, Intertap. Like I think the thing that's different though is, I get the question of, okay, so which team do you believe, or which team do you really see? But again, it's not even really the same team. There's a bunch of players that weren't there, and so I don't even look at the power play and all that stuff. But you make a really good point about the Buffalo team versus the Boston team. Like the Buffalo team had like really elite talent on it, while the Boston team wasn't. So when you said that they had a solid outing against Boston, I'm not really that sure about that. It was a pretty close game. Boston really carried the play for a lot of parts of that game, in my opinion. So overall, like, it was a lot closer than it seemed. Like it was 2-1 going into the third period, and then they had an empty net goal as well, right? So pretty close game for a team that, is supposed to be loaded with all these great prospects, right? So a little bit closer than I would have liked to see against Boston. For sure, there was a bit of a better effort in terms of playing on the right side of the puck. Like Jean-François Hull said that they were a lot more defensive or responsible defensively in that game, and for sure that was the case. That was definitely the case. But overall, I guess this is a good segue into my headline, which is lots of good talent, but no elite talent. And that's something we've talked about in the past, guys, is Montreal, we've had all these picks we've too many picks. It's unreal the amount of players that we've selected over the last 3 drafts, right? But I don't know if you guys had, like, Coach, you mentioned it earlier, the Fantilli game against Detroit. I watched that game. It's great that they're all on YouTube, all these tournaments. I've been watching all these rookie camp games, and let me tell you guys, like, having elite talent makes a difference.
It means a lot.
It means a lot. You can say what you want about players. Okay, they don't have the cohesion yet. They're not used to playing with each other. They're just starting out. But elite talent is elite talent. It just jumps out at you off the page right when you see it, right? And what's troubling for me with what I'm seeing from the camp so far is, even though it's not like, because I don't care about wins or losses, I don't even really care about how many goals they score. What I'm concerned about with is the lack of creativity that I'm seeing from some of the players. Like, it's supposed to be a rookie showcase, right? It's supposed to be, it's not really we can call it a rookie camp, but they're not putting any emphasis. Like Jean-François Hull is not giving them any structure, no systems, anything like that. He's basically telling them, guys, go out, go. Like, they probably have like a very, very basic plan, but they're just being told, go out there and have fun. Of course, there's nerves and everything else. They know how important that this is for the visibility of it. But watching the other teams, that's what they're doing, right? Like, there's creative plays. you can just see a little bit more skill in some of these other teams. And I'm not just talking about Bedard and Fantilli. I'm talking about, if you look at some of the other teams, I'm a little concerned about some of this. Yeah, like, well, while, like, listen, like, there's no question that he's a creative player. The only question with Joshua Roy is going to be his skating, right? Like, can he get around the ice effectively enough to do the smart things? Like, we know that his mind is good enough, and we know that his heart is good enough. Like, he's somebody that's really kind of listened and understands that he needs to play a two-way game. I have I have more faith in him than Jonathan Drouin in that respect, right? Like, you can tell he's already stronger on pucks than Jonathan Drouin ever was. He can win puck battles. He has a real, like, I really like Joshua Roy, but the question is skating. Is he going to be able to get around fast enough to really be an effective NHL player? And I look at players like Machar, like, speed is supposed to be his main thing. And like, I felt he was kind of slow. I know he put on some weight this summer. But I don't know, like, that's my concern. So in a way, I'm even happier that they got Newhook, because Newhook is really, really fast. So I'm seeing a bit of a lack of speed on some of what I'm seeing. So overall, my headline was all about being a little bit jealous of watching these other rookie camps and seeing some of the elite talent that they have. It's not the end of the world. You can still build good teams with depth. Like, you can argue the Carolina Hurricanes don't have elite talent, right? Like, they don't have a franchise player, right? They just have really good players. So you can build a very strong team, unless Montreal is going to be able to liquidate some of the many assets that we have and get elite talent.
That's the key. Yeah.
So, we've talked about that before, but that's all. This is all pure jealousy, watching some other teams and the really elite talent that they have in these rookie camps.
Great comment. It depends how you see elite, because I always said to you,
course,
maybe Rebecca and Caden Coley are elite as a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens in the next couple of years.
At the forward position. The headline would have been too long, right? So I agree. Our decor, we have elite talent there for sure, and
that's good. The reason I said this is because the people in the chat talk about different comments about that way. So I just want to clarify that one there. So I want to be sure the people knows it's about the forward for the Montreal, and it was really evidence during the last two game for the Montreal. And for me, guys, it's easy. Logan Mailloux, a long process. That's it. That's all. I don't have to add more. For me, it will be a 30-second, very easy. You can see where he's weak. Is exactly what we talk about this all summer. And he need to learning. He need to go through everything, and he need to have a little bit. Listen, talk about McDonough. Talk about the fact like maybe you need some tough love. Tough love is learning. Not get everything right away on your hand and your mouth right away. You have to work on it. And I think it would be good for him to pass at least 1 year to 2 years in the Laval Rocket. And that shows a bit more where we are. We have tendency to said when someone performing or someone do well, what level they play, an NCAA, QM, or European, whatever they are, we have some kind of excitement inside of us and say, oh, here we go. He's going to be with Montreal. He's going to be a good defenseman, a good forward, a good goalie, whatever they are. But they have a process, and the process is that they are not ready. I don't see any player this weekend, me right now, ready to play in NHL. Whatever who they are, they have to go through the learning process where they have to go through the Laval Rocket. It's nothing negative. It's nothing wrong with that. That's just what they are. And that show exactly. So my headline for the weekend, for the Sunday night, it was a long process for many prospects for the Montreal Canadiens. So great subject, all of you. We touched on fun ways about the Montreal Canadiens. That's a good thing. Good to repeat this, guys, every time we pop up at the beginning of the show to sharing this. You guys that engage in the conversation and the chat. So that's what the purpose behind everything. So anything you want to add before we move on, both of you?
I just want to make a point. Sorry, go ahead, Senator Top. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna very quickly just add it's all about patience, right? Because in all fairness, there were, about 3 or 4 players that I thought played decently. They're not ready yet, but they played decently. And we talked about Roy, we talked about Heineman. I thought Simoneau played decently as well. I thought in the one game that he played, Struble was solid. Nothing earth
Yeah, true.
shattering, not at that elite level, but defensively, he made his he made his physicality known and really did not make any mistakes. So it's as you said, Coach. It's going to take time. It's a process, but we need to be patient because a lot of times we either over evaluate our stock or we tend to dump on them too early before they've had the opportunity to properly develop.
So the only thing I would say, Coach, is I agree. Overall, it might be a long process for some, but it really depends on them. Like for when I look at Logan Mailloux, excuse me, a little thing in my throat. When I look at Logan Mailloux, it's nothing physical. Like, the things that he's missing are not in terms of like I think he has this, I think he has the skating, I think he has the size, I think he has the shot, like all the things that he has all the attributes, like all the tools. The only thing is is he going to be disciplined enough to play within, like play within a team, right? Like some of the things I saw in the games, right? Like he was killing a penalty and you could see he was just so aggressive. Like he came up to the point to pressure a guy and he left the whole bottom slot uncovered. Like it's just like, it's kind of like Kovalev ish, kind of like, like just really kind of playing a singular kind of game. So to me, it really depends how long it takes him to learn that, like, so because I don't think it's his physical tools. Like if you talk about Joshua Roy, skating is something that takes time to fix. You need to work at it. It's not something like, oh, wait a minute, now I understand how to skate faster, right? It's you can understand like it could be in 3 meetings. They could have meetings with Logan Mailloux, and all of a sudden he's like, okay, I get it. When I'm killing a penalty, I have to do this, this, and this. And then he applies it over 10, 20 games and he understands it, right? That's something that can happen pretty quickly. With Joshua Roy, learning how to skate faster, that could take like 2 seasons with like power skating coaches and adding, kind of different fitness regimens to what he does. So some things are harder to fix than others in terms of their progression. So if I had to choose between, if I was Logan Mailloux and Joshua Roy, I would still choose to be Logan Mailloux because you have all the physical attributes that are almost impossible to add are there. He just needs to learn. He just needs to learn how to play the game, and with the right coaching, and if he has the right attitude, so when I hear people say it's going to take him 2 years, it could, but it could be shorter if he's really dedicated, and if somebody gets through to him and coaches in the right way, it could be faster because he has all the physical tools.
Oh, yeah, it's just an assessment about like you need to go through the process like American Hockey League to go there to learning about that. Everybody, everybody is unique as a learning process. Everybody learn quicker, faster, or slower, and they adapt. But
But
my
you see
point
what I
was
mean? Like,
behind that. It was the fact like people was already put him in the NHL. He's going to be a top
yeah,
three. Everything he we don't know his ceiling yet, but he have to work a lot of things. You can see he does it. It's all about this is exactly what we said. We don't he does not have no problem with the strength, is physicality, right? His shot, right? And his skating on straight line where he can carry on the puck and he can move. We can see that. The problem behind that is his IQ, his hockey sense, his vision. It's all limited. I will give you details of the game Saturday versus Friday. Saturday, he picked up the puck in the corner. He knew the Boston Bruins coming with him. What he did, he just eat the puck in the corner. He protect the puck there. He just protect there. He just waiting for the second lane or pillar pick up the puck, and then they turn around to opposite side. They have a break out quickly after that. But this is a
yeah,
great decision for his part and not to try to do everything. I think Friday was more about the one man show, right? He tried to do too much at the same time.
Right.
He was trying to carry on. He does everything to make
Yeah,
an
he was
impact
better
with
Saturday.
highlights, whatever it was. So,
But if the point I was making, coach, is that so that particular path of progression is I won't say easier, because it's possible that he never gets it. It's possible that he's not mature enough. It's possible that maybe he doesn't have the right attitude to learn that stuff. And in that case, he might not make the NHL. But I would much rather be in his position of learning those skills versus Joshua Roy, or even Machar, getting stronger, learning to skate faster. Those are very difficult physical things that not every player are going to be able to achieve, right? So now again, you like Luc Robitaille, right? Everybody, he got drafted super late because he wasn't a great skater, and he's like, the second highest, or the top right winger of all time, or whatever he is, right? So you don't have, like, in today's game, it's a little bit different. Like, you need to be able to skate, right? So should be interesting. But I just wanted to draw that difference. It's going to be tricky. Like the progression for some of these players, like physically, like Roy or Machar, it's going to take longer.
Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of people in the chat. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like if you don't mind. That'd be great. A lot of great opinion in the chat. We have a few people knock the door. Austin Allen, one of them. We appreciate that. Mark, we said earlier, was knock the door. Nicholas and is in the house. Nicholas, thanks to be with us tonight. We have a few people, of course. Andrew Byron. And do I miss someone, guys? I apologize. Adam Berger is in the house. About this, he said, I didn't know about that, but he said rumor is in Coach Aiden Hill, one out of Vegas.
Wow, I didn't hear about that.
Aiden Hill wants out? No, it's I heard it's Thompson that wants out, not Aiden Hill. And
okay,
and
it's Logan Thompson.
That might, yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of goalies there.
Rudolph, talk about the fact, like, our young players are patient, are the one in the past. According to report, KK was a big baby. He did not want to sit in the stand about that. This is the culture they try to change for the players. They want to be teaching them what it takes, everything to understand what they have to learn. Russell Smith is in the house. That's the one I was talking about. This, sorry about that. And they have some kind of rumor for the Montreal Canadiens on the fan website. The fact Montreal looking to trade Carey Price right now with all other the trade rumor with the color of an inch for Casey DeSmith, Samuel Girard involved with that, everything like that. So I don't know. I saw this, I read it, but I'm not going to comment about this tonight. It's all the rumor is going on around the Montreal Canadiens. So don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. And a lot of conversation, guys, about different things for the Montreal. WST knocked the door. He said too many small prospect forward. Fact. It depends how you see that. Like, if you talk about in general in NHL or only with the Montreal Canadiens, that would be something you have to look at. We complain about Montreal Canadiens, but if you look about the Buffalo Sabres, Savoie Benson,
small.
They got drafted a top at least. About that, WSS and Mayu at least 1 year, and East Coast Hockey League, I would say no. But East American Hockey League, yes. About that. But Coach Odette is in the house, by the way. Excuse about that. Apologize. Are you going in the June to see him? See the cup in Montreal. About that one. Welcome back, Ronnie. Everything like that. So we go through this. We're going to move on for the next thing. We're going to talk about this. We're going to go really quickly what happens over the week. So it's called a weekly recap. So we're going to have starting always a Monday to the Sunday. And then we'll talk about it then, the show about the previews. It's a bit like we did the Habs Browns the morning. We talk about happening. During the last week was really the hockey was back and the season is back. And start always with a golf tournament happening last Monday at the Laval sur le Lac. Very beautiful location. The sunshine was knocked the door, and it was there for everybody. And the smile was back for all the people that participated at that golf tournament, players, staff, and management. And they are already excited for the upcoming season. And Montreal Canadiens already start skate since like the beginning of August. But the big headlines of that golf tournament was Mike Madison became the assistant captain for the Montreal Canadiens, and it was the beginning of the camp with the rookie camp and the physical test during the first day. And we find out, I don't know, some people get taller, heavier, most of them. So I would like to hear from you a bit, give us a bit before we talk about the game. What do you think about the recap of the week for the Montreal Canadiens? Maybe a 1 minute each one of you. And we'll start with Marco about that.
Well, there's a lot of ink and other podcasts, that I've already covered a lot of this stuff. So the whole, playoffs, we're not doing playoffs. Like, I can't believe anybody's surprised or think it's controversial that Habs management wouldn't come out and say that they expect to make the playoffs. I was shocked that was like the big discussion that came out this week, like after the golf tournament. But it is what it is. People, I guess, really like Montreal to make the playoffs. Of course, we'd like that to happen, but I find it shocking that people thought that was a thing for this year. But I think great choice with Matheson for sure. The one thing, Coach, about the it's great that they come out with the different weights and how much the players have grown. But I think it would be really interesting if they actually shared the body, the percentages of mass that they have, because it can be very misleading when they just say somebody gained 10 pounds, right? Because it could mean like if somebody actually grew an inch, then automatically when you grow an inch, that's pretty much the equivalent of 8 pounds in just bones and just like actually growing an inch. So rather than just saying how many pounds that they added on, it would be interesting to see how much like muscle mass that they actually put on. So that would be cool to more information to learn from the Habs when they kind of release this kind of information. But my big takeaway from camp, I think we mentioned this on Wednesday, Martin Saint-Louis is a rock star. Martin Saint-Louis, I love everything that he said in the golf tournament. To me, it's all about this year. He's not going to be fooled by results. It's kind of what we were concerned about last year. If there's like how they say empty calories, like you can eat a chocolate bar or you can eat like a whole grain sandwich. It's the same amount of calories, but the chocolate bar is empty calories. Well, wins in the NHL can be like that too, right? Like you can win a game, but that you play terribly and your players are not developing and playing the right way. Hopefully he'll be able to call out players, even if there's good results, and just make sure that he's keeping the players on the right track of learning how to play in the NHL, learning how to play winning hockey, not just winning games, but learning how to play winning hockey. That to me was the most exciting thing that came out of the golf tournament. So that's my 1 minute. That's the thing that stuck out to me.
Oh, great. Way. By the way, from WSC, Jeff Gordon gained 20 pounds.
Muscle, all muscle.
But I agree with you and Marco about the fact, like, at least it would be great to have a measurement and a little bit more details about the, don't maybe give us like a, thing we don't need to know. It would be great to hear the muscle.
I don't need their cholesterol numbers. Yeah, I don't need their cholesterol levels and all that stuff, but just
exactly
things that are athletic based, would be good to know. Yeah,
I agree. And Artap.
Yeah, for me, it's all about development, right? And I think at the tournament, I think everybody said the right things pretty much. I liked the selection of Matheson as we had predicted that he would probably be the assistant captain, and he did. It's about wanting to play together as a team, and that's the only way you improve. It's as soon as you start having one or two rotten apples in the mix or people that don't buy into the system, that it all falls apart. And I don't care if you have mediocre talent level or you even have elite on the team. It's very toxic when you don't work together. And hockey is one of those sports where you need obviously to play as a team. You can't play as an individual. And that's the other thing I think that we have to sort of really I mentioned it before. You have to be patient. You know that they're going to make mistakes again. I think it's a growth process, not only for the players, but also for Martin St. Louis, because now the games are slowly, maybe not so much this year, but in the future, they're going to start to mean more. And you're going to start making that playoff, there's the P word, uh, uh, a realistic aim. And you have to play and work towards that. And he has to show that he's grown to that level as well. As much as I love hearing him talk, next is about action, right? And I think that if he surrounds himself with the right people and the players buy into what he's saying and they see results, albeit gradually, then we're going to see a much improved team for many, many years to come. And keep in mind also, like when we talk about the measurements and the weight and stuff, like some of these kids are 17, 18, 19 years old. Like they're not finished growing. So we shouldn't be surprised. Like even Reinbacher, they said he grew, I think, an inch and a half. And again, we were talking about that knee ailment that was worrying us a few months ago. And this is part and parcel with the growing process. Once the growing process stops, then that should be a non-issue, that knee problem or that rare disease that they were talking about. I forget the name of it right now, but these are all things we've got to be patient. And yes, we have to be working towards something. You can't be without goals, but it's a process, and you have to see it through to the end.
Yeah, well said, both of you, about the weekly, what happening with the Montreal Canadiens. But the biggest thing happening with the Montreal, it was really the beginning of the rookie camp, started in Buffalo Friday night. And then we saw the game Saturday against Boston Bruins. They're going to be back in action Monday at 1:30 p.m.
Ottawa.
again, the Ottawa Senator rookies before they returning in Montreal. We're going to be live. We're going to do the game live streaming here, like we did the first game, number 1, number 2. So tonight we're going to sharing a little bit what happening during those games for the during that the weekend, during the weekend for the Montreal Canadiens. And we're going to sharing this with Marco and then Mr. Nartap. If I can find it, the story about where we're supposed to get there. It's not there allowed. I apologize. I knew I'm going to screw this one over there. Is it right here? It's not there now too. I had too many screen gap. Here we go. We got it, ladies and gentlemen. About that one there. Game number 1, guys. Montreal lost by the score 6-3 against the Buffalo Sabres. I'll give you about 2 minutes. You will pass the time anyway. What do you feel about the first game Friday night? We'll start with Marco, and then following by Narta for the game Saturday, and we can go from there. So let's starting talking about the game number 1.
Yeah, like this game, it's just so much speed, so much puck pressure from Buffalo that Montreal just really not able to get the puck up to just not a lot of cohesion. And you can't blame that, like, oh, well, they're just all learning to play together for the first time. Well, it was the same thing for Buffalo, right? So you can't really use that excuse. It is a showcase, like it's so it is what it is. Like Buffalo was just far superior. We talked about some of the struggles that some of the players in particular that had a bit of a rough game. I thought Dobesh, and that's how I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Dobesh, how they pronounce his name. I think he had a great game. No, it's Dobesh, like Mashar, Dobesh. So yeah, I think he had a very, very strong game. So really, it was the first time that I'd seen him, obviously play a full game. So I was pretty impressed with him. Really nice side to side movement. Like he had some really, really nice kind of acrobatic saves, and positionally pretty strong as well too. Like played the puck. Like overall, really, really satisfied with what I saw from him. I think Trudeau had a good game. But overall, Buffalo was just really impressive in that game. And again, like I talked about kind of a little bit what I'm concerned about. The overall team speed is kind of what concerned me, lack of creativity. But again, it's Buffalo was just right on top of them all game. Just so much pressure that they just were never able to really kind of get any cohesion going. So.
Well said about
So
this. I said to Anatap earlier before you pop up, Marco, they lost exactly the same kind of game they lost all year long last year, where the
Mhm.
special team did nothing, right? They got pressure for opponent team. They have difficult time when the team is bigger but faster and stronger. And then the goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens always keep the team and the game until they at the end they cannot do much. They try the best they can. So how many times Montembeault Allen performed for Montreal Canadiens to keep Montreal Canadiens in the game, but not good enough to win the W. And the special team again was 0-6 Friday, and that's the prototype the game we saw all last year for the Montreal Canadiens. I feel the same way
and
like Friday night.
I'll add one more thing, Coach. Like it's everybody's been talking about changing the medical staff to reduce the man injuries or the man games lost. Well, another thing you have to consider for man games lost and the amount of injuries is how much time you spend in your own zone chasing the puck, blocking pucks. So is there something systemically with the way that Montreal plays? Like I remember Jacques Martin back in the day had a very passive system, right? Like he didn't mind if the team got outshot by a lot because all the shots were always from the outside. As long as we keep shots from the outside, we don't care. We tire. So like almost like rope a dope, right? Like you let the team go on the outside, and then you're opportunistic with your own chances, right? But there's a cost to playing that kind of system because you're chasing the puck all the time. You're blocking pucks. I don't think that's the style that Sandy Wee wants to play. Like my sense is that he wants to be kind of play like Carolina, like play aggressive. It's a very taxing system though on the players because you're always skating, like you're never standing still. So hopefully that's not what we see this year. Like we want to be aggressive in all three zones.
Yep, sorry about that for sure. And after, you want to add something?
Yeah, to me, I mean, there wasn't a lot to brag about in that first game. If anything, quite the opposite. But a couple players did stand out for me, and I thought Simoneau played a very, very good game. He was involved all the time. He was getting himself into the right spots most of the night. We talked about the goaltending, which was solid. Trudeau played well. I thought Heineman didn't have his best game, but he didn't play poorly. And even Tourné and Beck were. I mean, I
Okay.
expected a little bit more, but they were okay. That's about it. But what was visibly absent, and you could see it, the way Buffalo was pressing, we did not have that puck carrying defenseman. And it was obvious because we kept turning the puck over and over and over. And if you got a team that can forecheck very well, it's going to be a lot of problems. And we saw in that game that if it wasn't for Dobesh, did I say that right, Marco?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. If it wasn't for him, I think the score would have been a lot higher than 6-3.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Take a note, guys, is that those kind of showcase, right? Whatever you go showcase, not only NHL, any other place, like it's hard to judge players. It's not easy because it's like a pickup tournament, right? So it's like a Division
Yeah.
A, Division B, Division C, and they try to make the best players who they are and put together and go play tournament and going to have some game like 9-2, 6-1, because they are not all the same level, and that's called showcase. So when you go there, you try to looking more like the individual players, not as the team
Yeah.
together, but more
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the individual player, their skill, their abilities, and how they do with the puck, without the puck, all the time. That's the best reflect of what you get out, because you cannot judge. For me, you cannot say, oh, that because they play Friday, Saturday, like I said, it's fun player, what they're going to be, they are out, or this is the boss, or this is not going. It's just a showcase, guys. On wait until the one they be the main cam, and after that, they give them the time. So I just want to clarify that because a lot
Yeah.
of things was really hard on the social media during the weekend. With many subject about the Montreal Canadiens player prospect on many ways. So I just want to be sure.
But that's probably what's most disappointing, Coach. Is I would feel a lot better about, to be honest, this game and the other game if they would have lost 10-3. But if you saw Machar or if you saw Beck or if you saw them doing creative things, like showing off their skill, winning battles, stuff like that. Like, I'm not expecting perfect hockey, fundamentally sound hockey. And I'm not going to be that, pissed off if somebody misses their coverage or whatever. And again, watching the other kind of rookie tournaments, like other teams like Columbus, Detroit, Toronto, even players that are not supposed to have, the teams that are not supposed to have a prospect tool that's as deep as ours, you can see that the players were just a lot freer and more creative and winning more battles, like more engaged, right? So I felt they were just kind of flat. Like, can you think of like one play from our forwards that you're like, oh wow, like look how fast that guy is? I can think of Tourigny. He's like, skating, like, showing his speed, but Heineman was kind of disappointing, man. Like, he's an older guy. Like, he should be dominating at this level. Not
Yeah,
not a very good signal, for everybody who thought that he was going to be the guy, the big kind of like story come out of camp. Not a great start here. Like, he needs to pick it up.
I will only add one more thing, Mr. Nutter, before you talk about game number two. Is like with everything we have, technology, everything like that, and you compare like other game around the showcase and NHL. Buffalo facility is behind because the view of the game is so dark. It's so poor quality
Yeah.
about the production. I don't expect NHL, but you look the
Mhm.
game Chicago, Columbus, or
Yeah.
Detroit, or their location. I feel like it was really higher. Um,
Yeah.
about compared to a Buffalo. I don't know. They have to figure out this. And again, it's not too much complaining, but every time you try to get the recording your goal, whatever, it's like the quality is so bad about that. Anyhow, Mr. Top, game number two, Montreal rebound. And they got a W again, the Boston Bruins rookies, but they score 4-1. We have fourth front scorer. Gaydon score a rebound in front of the net. And then Joshua Roy complete his second goal of the weekend and two game. Jan Mezak, a great shot, wrist shot, 2 versus 1 after. Then Smilanik have an empty net for his first goal with the Montreal Canadiens. So this is all the goals go happening 4-1. And then it was Quentin Miller, the new country singer for the Montreal Canadiens, just released his first album. It competed with Taylor Swift for what we heard, but we have Danny T. He tried to pick it up there. So Danny, he tried to stay back, maybe become an open singer for the next show of the Quentin Miller at some point. But we'll see what happens, Mr. Tap, to give us a little bit more information about game number two.
Yeah, well, definitely a much better game, and I'm glad you brought up Goudon, because I thought the power play was a little bit better. At least they were putting some pressure on, and I thought really Goudon being in front of the net created a lot of havoc for Boston, and it allowed the defenseman really to sort of give him that extra second or two to sort of find the open man. They weren't just shooting arbitrarily from the perimeter. So that was a good sign. And as we mentioned before, there were much better efforts throughout. What I really looked at in that game, and that's what who was talking about, was improving their defensive play from that first game. And I thought they made the effort. Like, how sometimes we're saying we're looking at least for that one carrot that'll allow us to say we saw something where they moved forward. And I thought defensively they were much better, given the fact that they really didn't have a solid six men playing defensively there. They really had about two or three, and they played responsibly in my eyes. Again, we have to sort of take it with a grain of salt, because, as we spoke about earlier, this was a Boston team that was does not have great prospects in their system right now, and that showed. But I mean, we also have to take credit where credit is due, and at least we saw defensively that they were a little bit better, and they were playing better as a team.
So I'm not looking at team stuff at all in these games. Like I don't know if it was better team defense or the fact that just Boston just wasn't as good, and they're just not pressuring them like Buffalo was, right? So I try not to really think about any team, what the team looks like. Again, I'm just looking at pure individual performance in this game. Conte, and I think his name is pronounced in French. Conte Miller is his name. So Conte Miller was really strong. So both games, I think the goaltender is probably the player of the game. To be honest, so again, very similar to what we're seeing in the normal Montreal thing. But to me, I don't know if you guys remember, but 3 weeks ago we talked about who was like a kind of like like a player that nobody's like an underestimated kind of like prospect for Montreal, and I said Jan Mysak. And I think he's probably been the most consistent forward. I think in the whole camp so far. To be honest, in this rookie tournament, I've always liked Mishak. Like I feel that people sometimes forget how of a really big role he played in those. Like the Czech team did not too bad at the World Juniors. He was the captain for 2 years and played a really important role for Hamilton in their run going to the final. I really like Mishak. Like again, like he's not going to be somebody that's going to be in your top six, but I see him being a really solid fourth line center for Montreal. Like he has like a lot of grit. He cares. He's very passionate about the game. He goes to the tough areas, and he's smart. He can win faceoffs. I like Mishak. I think to me, he's been the most consistent forward so far. Some things that I saw from I forgot to mention this, but in the first game for Beck, like everybody was saying he had a good game. The things I saw from Beck, and again, I'm not that worried about like defensive coverage, but lots of turnovers at his own offensive blue line for somebody that's in his second camp. Like he's trying to make things happen, and he's turning over pucks at the offensive blue line, right? And as we know, like, any hockey nerd is the worst place to have turnovers is either blue line, right? And I find that's something that he does quite a bit. Like he'll go in and he'll circle back, he'll do like the buckle back and try to find someone late. But he does a lot of turnovers right on those offensive blue lines. So something to watch out for Beck. But Guédon has a strong game. Roy, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, like there's no question that he has elite hockey sense, elite shot, elite passing skills, and positioning. Like, he's really good at positioning, and he wins more stick battles and puck battles than you would think, right? Like for a player like that, he's really, really dedicated to doing that better. I just hope, man, that like I'm very curious to see him in the main camp to see if he's going to be able to keep up with the play, right? Because if he is,
Yeah.
then I think for sure he's an NHL player.
But you know what, Marco? In all fairness, I tend to agree with what you said, but I think with Raw, it's more a problem his first step. He doesn't have that initial speed. I think once he's in the play, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I think he has the intelligence that he can compensate sometimes for that lack of speed. Like we look at some of the plays that he did make, and I mean I thought he looked good in that second game. Not great, but things that he still needs to work on. But I mean, he brings things to the forefront that we're lacking, and one of the things is size and physicality, and that determination to go to the net, right? But you're right; like he still has to work on the skating. I just think it's more he needs to get like a more direct attention at that first and second step as soon as he gets the puck, because that's where he's being sort of constrained and not being given that liberty to move around.
This is what is one of his, if you go all the report, scouting report about Joshua Roy, they talk a lot about his skating. But it remind me
Yeah,
a lot of players like, if you read skating for many players, like Tyler Toffoli was one of them, where his skating
yeah.
was so bad, and look where he turned around. Look Robitaille a long time ago, Michael Bossy. No, I don't say Joshua was going to become a scorer in NHL. Is going to go. But I'll just give you an example where many players got a bad report about skating, and then Patrice Bergeron you're going to laugh at me, but Patrice Bergeron, if you look at him at 18 years old, how he's skating, and look how he became after he followed like a many summer training with Julie Robitaille at Trois-Rivières, or they say where he learned to get a better power on his skating edge, everything like that. So, but this is the absolute right both of you about Joshua White need to improve his skating to become a little bit more a consistency players in NHL. And remember, guys, those two games does not make a career or not a career
No,
or a career in NHL. You have to look about more the individual players. What they do with the puck, like I said earlier. Before we finish that segment, we are already almost at the end. I'm going, and we always talk this way, but I want to finish with two questions. Let's start in with who had the all overall for the first two games. I know Wednesday we're going to talk about this again, but who stood out the most for you? I don't want to hear like 5 names, but maybe one or two. Where maybe was not expect, or we maybe a little bit what happened last year with Jekai, Owen Beck, or something like that, or player right. It could be another way where maybe not on the right way, but on the wrong way. Did not stood out what your expectation was. So let's start in with Nartap on that one.
For me, I'll sum it up as goaltending in both games. I thought, because this is an area that we've had of concern ever since the loss of Price, and we're sort of thinking, who's going to step in? Is Montebo going to be a number one or not? And will Caden Primo eventually step up and be ready? And to me, both Dobé and Miller, to me, showed that they have the right raw tools, and continued development. They're going to be goalies that will make it to the NHL at some point. They have the size. It looked like their lateral movement was very good. They, both of them had a good glove hand as well. I like that. So for me, it's the goaltending that really stood out.
Well said. Well said, Mister Marco.
yeah.
Marco.
Tap, I was hoping you weren't going to choose that because I feel like I've been super negative like most of the show, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to. I was hoping I was going to be able to go with something positive with the goalies, but those are, to me, that's really the only two major positive things so far, like that stood out in these. So I guess I'll have to go negative, unfortunately. So to me, the one that stood out negatively would be Heineman so far. Like I said, you know, for a player that size and that's played against men, he has a little bit of pro, from last year and even a couple of AHL games last year. I was expecting him to be a little bit more, kind of convincing on the ice, see him a bit more. I get I saw a couple times where he's able to protect the puck. But again, I'd just like to see him take a little bit more initiative out there, for somebody who's that big and strong and everything else. So to me, that's what stood out so far. As I was hoping we were going to get set up. Like the big story in the main camp is going to be, I think, Ylonen or Heineman. I thought that's what was going to be the big story, right? But
And
in
it
order
might
to get
still
that,
be.
in order to get that story, Heineman has to actually, excuse me, he actually has to play well enough for us to have that discussion. So let's see. Maybe he's just, saving it for the main camp, but we'll see how it goes. So far, though, a little bit underwhelming for me.
Yeah, great comments, both of you. I would say for me, I would have to go. I know they only play one game, right?
Melo.
It's not easy to stood out someone to play one game versus two game. But I'm going to say to you, for me, it was William Trudeau for the Montreal Canadiens. I know he make a mistake, one goal, specific goal, but the guy in front of the net did not cover. But Trudeau showed to me exactly what like he learned all year long, right? He came from nowhere. And then he show his consistency during the game. Is solid. He have a really great cap control. For me, I like the way he play, and he proved it Friday. He was an assist on the goal of Miguel Torini, and like I said, one game. On the game number 2, I would go with Jaden Strobel.
Oh, you get two, coach. You get one for each game. I didn't know that we were allowed to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. I think an extra one of that one there. Like I always love to over delivery and Marco about
That's
that
it.
one.
That's okay. You're entitled. You're the boss.
Yeah,
So after he drove with a private driver from a car from Buffalo, Montreal to Buffalo. We don't know the story behind that yet. I don't know here, but maybe we'll never know. But he make it at the right time to play, and he show a lot of great things, and will be interesting what he's going to do at the main camp. But was a good performance. Other effect, of course, I agree with Tap and Marco too. The goaltender it was very impressive on the last and during the W yesterday. So we'll see what will happen in game number 3. And then finally, I have one more question for you guys. Is this way? What we learned during the both games. So it'll be more easier to answer that one compared to still out. What did you learn for the first 2 games for Montreal Canadiens? Not only necessarily to relate to your headlines of the day, but did you learn something for the weekend? Marco.
Top, you go first. I need to think on that one, man. That's actually a much harder question than what stood out. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, for me, I'll reiterate it's about patience. Again, we can't be too harsh in making decisions about these players that have only played 1 or 2 games in at the most so far. It does take time, and as long as we're seeing some kind of progression, they're doing some things correctly out there, and they're improving. So if they made this mistake yesterday, we should see the next game that they've improved upon that. And I'll go with patience is what we learned here.
Yeah. So I don't know. To be honest, I don't think we've learned much yet, right? Like, I haven't
It's early.
like, I think we've learned. I think the biggest thing, honestly, is that we saw Dobesh and we saw Conte Miller. Those are the players that we knew that I knew the least about, in terms, and probably one of the positions of need that we have, in the organization. So we learned that we have 2 potentially solid, kind of like goaltending prospects here. And a lot of fans learned that Logan Mailloux is probably not going to play for the big club this year. Some of us already knew that, but
Yeah.
a lot of fans learned that watching those 2 games. A lot of fans don't like to hear, like, they think we're being negative. Like, again, we're not saying they're never going to play in the NHL. We're just looking at what we see and analyzing what they look like at this very moment. So it doesn't. I know there was a lot of hype around him for sure, and even at some points we even started to believe the hype because at some point, like, you heard like Rob Ramage. He was saying like, yeah, like, we think Logan Mailloux is like the prospect we have that's the closest to the NHL. Like, you were hearing things like that just a couple of months ago, this summer, right? So I don't know, like, I don't know what they were watching, but I don't know. Rob Ramage.
Yeah. Great comment, both of you, about what we learned. Great comment in the comments and the chat, by the way. For me, it's Libby. For me, it's it's, it's a weekend where we're not going to be negative. We just evaluate what we saw. That's all. Because we cannot consider because they play only 2 games, they're going to make it or they're never going to make it. It's just no sense to me
Exactly.
to go that direction with it. Just to see what the performance was on the ice, and that's it. That's all. And that's what That's what I see. For me, what I learned during the weekend is the word patient, and is the key for me for that you said in after, because it takes time to develop a hockey player, and it's at least you're an exception. And the exception they showed during the weekend, a Bedard, Fantilli, Leon Carlson. That's the reason they are drafted at the top, and that's the reason they are who they are. And for the second part, and look, we then what you said this weekend does show exactly what is the NHL draft. If you're not at the top of 10 or 15, you're not going to be a long career in NHL. Always exception, always an exception.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're not going to have a Mezak, a Mezar, a Roy, a Kidney, a Guindon. Every one of them will be NHL. Maybe
No.
one of them, or maybe make the NHL. That's
Yeah.
simple. But fact, it
Coach, there was
was
a very interesting. There's a very interesting. I'll try to find this. We don't call them tweets anymore. What do we call them if they're not on Twitter? Messages on
X's.
X.
X's.
Yeah,
X
so
fired.
yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'll try to find it and send it to you. But somebody did the homework and something around that for players who are top scorers in junior, or where they come from, if they don't have a certain percentage of points when they go to the AHL, like so let's say you scored 100 points in junior. If you don't score at least, I think it was like 25% or 30% of what you scored in junior in the AHL in your first year, the percentage of you actually making to the NHL drops to like 3%. So there's very good, and people might find this really boring, but it's numbers. These are statistics that you can actually count on, right? So if you're a player that, let's say you're Joshua Waugh and you scored 100 points the last 2 years in the QHL, right? If I remember the number correctly, if you don't score 35% of 100 points in your first year in AHL, the likeliness that you'll make it to the NHL is very low. I
Yeah,
forget
they
what the
have
exact.
Marco, I would just add what you just said because I think it's a great point. You have somewhere, somehow, a table or a template
Yeah.
where if you put number on different league, that will give you an approximate number of the point you make in NHL. That's what you bring on the table right now.
Yeah.
That's great. A lot of people in the chat.
Good
Thanks
point.
so much, guys. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be awesome. We're going to move on a little bit for the end of the show already. We tried to stay on the time. Like I said, one thing we did well at the Habs Browns, we did very well on that one. So for them, I'm going to do better on this the night on this one. But let's move on for the preview of the September number 2, week number 2 for Montreal Canadiens, start Monday to Sunday. And Montreal Canadiens play a game number 3 tomorrow. And their main camp start September 23rd with a physical test, everything like that. And then go have a game red and white Saturday. And they have a game maybe the Saturday, Sunday, whatever they are. Then after that, they play Monday night again. The New Jersey Devils, the first game, exhibition game, and Montreal plays 6 games. So, what do you expect for the upcoming week? And maybe looking for something? Do you have anything you're looking for the Montreal Canadiens, Marco?
I'm very excited to get it's been great to have this rookie showcase. Like any hockey at this point is like finding an oasis of water in the desert, right? You're just kind of put it in your mouth. And so it's been awesome having hockey, and not just Montreal, but like you can go on YouTube and you can watch all the most of the other tournaments, the Traverse City, you can watch the Detroit, Toronto. So just nice to have hockey back, but really looking forward to seeing the main camp. The thing I'm looking for, is answering some of these questions, right? Like, I guess really the only question mark we have is, will Dvorak get the medical clearance to actually play? That's going to answer a lot of questions for the time being, because we know that it's very likely that probably somebody will get injured during camp, and you never know. We're in the business of trying to make predictions, but we know that all those predictions usually don't end up working out because life happens and all kinds of things happen, right? But very much looking forward to camp and seeing kind of some of these young players and seeing them in a different environment, seeing them in a more structured environment, playing against NHL players. So that's going to be really, really fun to watch.
So now that.
Yeah, I think we'll see a much more balanced game against Ottawa because it's somewhere between the Buffalo Prospects and the Boston Prospects. So it'll be a good indication, really, at least where the rookies stand. And again, trying to see what slight improvements are being made on an individual basis by different players. One thing that I'm kind of looking forward to that I heard just before we got on the air, and again, there's no validation to this except Pierre LeBrun, who came out earlier tonight and said, that Ken Hughes is reportedly working on something big right now, which notably includes trading away the contract of Carey Price. So if he's got something up his sleeve, it's going to probably be done within the next week or two. and that would be an interesting transaction. And given, that the reactions and the responses that were given by Price and Hughes and at the golf tournament and slightly afterwards, it's not something that is preposterous.
Another remark is Zegras with the Montreal Canadiens.
No, that one I'm not buying too much.
Well, it was on the same website we got about Pierre de Bruinns, so I was just laughing about that
Yeah.
one over there. So would be interesting, for me, for the main camp is like, no spot. So it's another log jam. I spoke about this all week. The only way could change is honestly Christian de Vorak, but it's going to be more about the fight inside of the team. Who's going to get a spot, right? Not the open spot, but to keep the spot at the defenseman, the Kovacevic, Langstrom, Barron. This is a one area I want to see what they're going to look like at the main camp. On the flip side, okay, we see now Coley Madison, and then you have Jekai Jordan Harris. They are the four there. Can Montreal make a move for Martin St. Louis to take one move on the right day that would pushing? One of the things situation would be out. Is it who paid the price? Is it Justin Barron, or they would willing to put on the waiver a Linkstrom or something like this? So we don't know yet what could happen. On the forward, honestly, is the bottom six, and then it's going to be more interesting to see like the Armia, Pesada, RHP, Islandon, Eneman on that one. For me, one is really, and we're going to laugh at me, but they're going to figure out is really the case of Allen. Are they going to trade him, or they not going to trade him? Are going to try to put him on the waiver? Are you going to be claimed or not? This is another way I'm looking for. Finally, this goalie situation with the Montreal Canadiens. We have four of them right now: Primo, DeSmith, Montembeault, and Allen. And that will be something a little bit deeper, longer. And the main camp going to talk about maybe the goaltender who start, who will be number one, whatever it is. But right now, that's what I'm looking for the beginning of this. And it start right away. Like in the time, and not that more because Marco is very young compared to us. The training camp was 10 days before they do a scrimmage. And now they're all skating players since like a month ago. And now they all only throw up the puck right away, and they don't waste their time to do practice the morning and during a couple of days before they start the camp. So this is a new generation of hockey. And remember, guys, the hockey I said during the weekend is exactly what's coming. It's about speed. It's about transition. It's about join the rush. Yeah, no physicality at those games anymore like it was before. That reminded me exactly the four line. It's not matter the size. It's going to be about the way we play the game with the speed of the game. This is with the new ways, the new wave in hockey, and it's going to be more and more the next 5, 7, 10 years in NHL. You can already see that. It will be interesting what Montreal is going to become, everything like that. And the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about prediction. Montreal Canadiens, going to talk about NHL prediction. It's more in October. For the preview of the Ab Nation and the Hockey Nation, we have a couple of people pop up the next couple of days. Sue Cohen at the end of the week. Next week, we have Russ Cohen, and we finalize the date for Tim Turk and Marco D'Amico. Two, we try to pick it up then before the beginning of the season to be sure we complete the calendar. And after that, we're going to move on with other people who's going to join us during the season. So at the end of the day, we're going to finish with Frenchy Quiz. We have a new subscriber, John Gallagher. This is the Brendan Gallagher dad, by the way. So I just want to let you know that. Relate with him. So thanks so much.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining, John. Welcome.
A lot of big thing inside of Montreal. The chat guys, the guys, you sharing everything. That's great to hear that. Nicholas, Ronnie, Gary, many other RJ are very involved, and we thanks each one of you. If you don't mind to stay with me for 15 more minutes, we're going to finish with Frenchy Quiz. We have 4 questions. Why not 5? Because we have a tie tonight. I'm going to maybe I do another. The last question, guys, is about who find the players. It's who I am. Who am I? So this is the last one, and my software creates something new where I can do something different, like really interesting. So that will help in the question and the future for me. But let's move on with the Frenchy quiz we got tonight, guys. We'll see who is dominate. Of course, Marco, don't worry, we're going to find you behind the door. Here we go. Marco is ready to rock and roll the show tonight on the Frenchy quiz. Leaderboard, the center top knocked the door again at the beginning with 18. And then the winner the last time is the Full Rain from Alaska. We did not see tonight, but hopefully pop up
Full
at some
Rain.
point tonight. The Full Rain, the winner, she 5-5, I believe. It was a perfect game, or 4-5 about that one over there. Honestly, it was 4-5.
Nice.
I should look about my stat. They're all here. So good luck, everybody. Frederic Ouellet, who do you think would be the first center for the Rocket? Mizak, what do you think about that, Mr. Enartap?
It's a possibility. I see him more on the second, to be honest, but I wouldn't put it like I liked what I saw too from Misak, and I think that if he continues in that direction, he'll be fine. He'll be fine at even on the first line.
Marco?
Who's the guy they got from the Rangers?
There we
Erickson?
go. You got it. Yes, Anderson. Yeah.
Anderson, yeah.
But isn't he a winger though?
He played
No, I
both
thought he was
both, but because Montreal have a lot of prospect winger, I think he's going to be a center for Montreal. So what I saw the roster. Some people pop up. It looked like Mizak is on the bottom 6 of the lineup, and they have Hanneman with Anderson and Roy on the first line.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, but
Yeah,
I thought for sure on the second line, Misak.
Yeah, Mezar was on the second line. And then remember, you have Stephen Mitchell, Stephen, right?
Stevens,
so they expect him second, third line between Mizak.
Yeah,
Every
he had
time
a strong finish for the Rockets. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him second line.
So now answer for Frederic Ouellet. For that answer, Frederic, you need to click on the likes. I have no choice anymore to don't do backwards about that. Here we go, guys. A really rock and roll. I'm excited about this one tonight. We'll see. Which goalie, the total the win leader and regular season plus the playoff, both together, among the NHL goaltenders sent the 2017-18 season list below only? Of course, we know it's Vasilevsky, so it would be easy to give you that name. So I give you for 5 other goaltenders. I make a list. I've said who has the most W. Is it Maxstrom, Fleury, Bobrovsky, Anderson, or Chesterkin? Good luck, everybody. And the time is up on that one. Sorry, Marco, for a few seconds. You're going to be behind the clock. There we go. About that one. Good luck, everybody. RJ, go with C. If you are a winner tonight, you win the Fantasy Guide Hockey of the Elite Prospect.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you are on the Fantasy Hockey with us, don't forget, we have only a couple of spots, but don't sign up until after the show for Marco get in.
I signed up at the beginning. Got one spot left.
Gary go with A. Ronnie with D. Wesh with B. Leon Renault go with E. We did not see Luc Lafortune tonight. Maybe sometimes he just don't talk. If he's here, just said, hi, Mr. Luc. KLS go with D. King of Gamer go with A. And we have ND go with B. Claude Richard with C. The deadline of the clock. As on that time, people pop up. We're going to start with Mr. Nartap. Thanks for the next likes. We got Mr. Nartap. What do you got tonight for the first question?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Fleury, B.
B with Fleury, and where Frederic got the E and Roy got with C. And I can wait for the explanation of his answer for Marco. Always give us something good.
So it's improvising as I go. Yeah, I was actually going to choose B as well, but I never like choosing the same thing that Enertap chooses. Although I
Thank you,
should,
Marco.
because he's like the all-star guy. So I don't know why I always feel like I have to go against him, but I still feel like I need to. I'm going to go, even though it doesn't seem like it makes sense because Anderson doesn't win a lot of playoffs. I just get a sense that he's been on like a lot of winning teams. So I'm going to go with D. Anderson.
Anderson for Marco. We have Dan Asham go with B and Sebastian go with B. Oh my God! Sergei Bobrovsky got that one over there. Most of the game is what with the Columbus Blue Jacket. If you can recall it, plus the W he got at the end, beat a little bit over those goaltenders. So we have only 3 winners: RG, Claude Richard, and Roy. Start the good way. The first question of the night.
Didn't think he won that many games.
Sorry?
Didn't think that he won that many games in Columbus, but I guess I was wrong.
Which player is not entering the 6th season in the 2023-2024 in NHL? Which one is not starting a 6th year in NHL? Quinn Hughes, Evan Bouchard, Elias Pettersson, Gabriel Vilardi, or Dustin Taze? I said Dustin, but Devon Taze. I apologize.
Devon.
Yeah. Here we go. Good luck, everybody.
All I know for sure, Coach, is this question makes me feel old. 6 years for most of these players. Wow.
I know the time is fast, huh? Right? When you think about this, like already 6 years in the league, Quinn Hughes. Wow. Not a problem, Frederic. A better chance. RJ go with B with Evan Bouchard. Thanks so much, RJ. We appreciate a lot. We'll see if the 3 winner, the question number 1, they can pick it up at 2 and 2 tonight. Will be interesting. We have only one only. Here we go.
And Coach, like, does that count? Like, even if they just played like one game?
Yes. Yeah.
And what if they were in the minors but didn't play?
No. It's NHL, no. So they have if you go at fun website, it would say year no 1, 2, 3, the year 20, 17, 18, 19, whatever they are, and they calculate at that, and they would say the total of the career 5 years or 6 years. They give you the stats. So I pick up there from that one over there. So we have RJ W triple with A, Gary Conley with E, Leon Renault with B. We have Andy with B, Claude Richard with D, Sebastian with B, Jake McEnroe with B, Ronnie with B, Roy with A, Being of Gamer. Everything said Bouchard so far, a lot of them. We'll see what we got. Mr. Marco on that one.
Oh, man. My instinct is that it's D. Vilardi just because he was up and down a lot. Like last year was his breakout season, you know? And, you know, we all know Vilardi he was the guy that Bergevin almost traded for Pacioretty. So that means he's been around for a while, but he's playing mostly AHL. But I think the popular vote is correct on this one. Like Bouchard, I don't think he's been playing for 6 years. I would be shocked. You know what? I'm going to go for my first instinct. I'll say Vilardi, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Dan Asham said E, Monsieur Tap. KLS said C. K.O. Gamer said B. Roy said A. Ronnie Odette said B. Jake McEnroe said B. Sebastian said B. Claude Richard said D. Andy Kovila said B. They are the last. And so, Monsieur Tap, you are this in your hands now. Are you follow your teammates or you said, no, I go with my own instinct?
I think I agree with Marco. I think Vilardi's only been with LA 4 years, but I think the question is from the time they were drafted. Coach, is that what we're saying?
No,
are they going
one?
How many years
game in the show? So if they play 1 year, it's 1 season.
He could have played like 1 game up with the big club, and that would have counted 1 year.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, it's between B and D because I know Bouchard, even though he's always been with Edmonton, he hasn't played more than 4 years. I know that. So just to be different, I'll go with B, Bouchard.
All right. Oh my God! D Pomelardi about that one over there. Well said. Both of you, your comment was really hammer the nail on that one over there. Claude Richard take the lead 2-2, followed by RJ, Roy, and Marco Larrabee. But you're absolutely right about that, Mr. Marco. On that, Villardi start fifth of the season. About that one. Next question, guys. Are you ready?
Sure.
Here we go. I'm going to remove this one. It'll be easier. Which answer below is not true about end their 6-season player career? So when they play their 6-year in NHL career, right? One of them is not true about the players. During that year, Mathieu hit 60 goals. McDavid had 105 points in 56 games. Kucherov hit 128 points. Nikash hit 71 points. And McKinnon hit 13 goals and power play. Not easy one. That's a tough one, this one.
That's very hard.
You have to remember everything because it's not easy on that one.
Jeez.
At the end of the day, is to remember if at some point if they did it or not. That's the best way you can go that question about that.
Narrow it down. That's it.
I'm assuming all these things are true, that they happened. They sound realistic.
Yeah. Exactly. Only one is not.
But one is not. RG said A. Gary Gournoyer said D. Caleb said D.
But even the one that's not real, it probably still happened, but it might not have happened in their 6th year of their career, right?
Possible.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Leon Renault go with E.
That's torturous, coach.
Wait for some answer. Ronnie Odell go with D. Nikash with 71 points. The time the people answer, guys, I'm going to start this. This time we'll go with Inortap.
Oh, man. I'm pretty sure Matthews, it was his 6th season. So I'm going to take that one off the table for me anyways. I'm looking at probably, oh my gosh. I'm going to go with D, Nikash.
Nikash about that one. During the time you answer, Claude Richard go with D. Triple W with B. Rain go with B. Welcome back. And then Andy go with C. And Mr. Marco. And don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. We knocked the 40 likes.
This is just a pure guess based on whenever I don't know the answer, I just somehow I just always remember that the answer is Kucherov. So I'm going to go C, Kucherov.
Kucherov about C. Randy Walkman go with D. And we have Sebastian go with D. Roy Stroy go with D. Gamer go with E. About that one there, we have an answer for sure for you guys. Oh my God! And let's go for this one. Here we go. E. The answer, guy, is E. Is McKinnon hit only 12 goals during his career. This is the highest number he reached in any season in NHL. We have now Leon Renault and King of Gamer join the party with good answer. Claude Richard still lead at 2. And that's what we got, guys. But again, Nikash hit 71 points last season.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Finally. So last question of the night, but we have an extra one after that. We'll let you know if we go all the way that one. But we'll see what happens in the next question. Here we go. From the list below only, which player did not have a season with 150 minutes of penalty minute per one regular season? Which player below did not ever have during their career one season with at least 150 minutes of penalties? Kudus, Kane, Evander, Maroon, Pat, Nicolas Delaurier, and Antoine Roussel, reporter now at the TVA Sport at some point. So here you go. You got it. You have it. And we'll see what happens. RJ go with D. Gary going to go with D. I have a clock here. Can clock here. There we go. Can put the gear here. Ronnie go with B. Wash go with E. We have Andy go with A. Ronnie go with A. Thanks, Ronnie, to be with us. We miss you, buddy. Long time we did not see you around. Leon go with the D and not B. A. No problem, Ronnie. We got it, my friend. We got it for you. We'll cover you. We have Sebastian with A. Claude Richard will go with E. Claude start the quiz very strong, 2-2. We'll see if he can pick up on a good answer. I take A, Ronnie. Perfect. Merci, Marco. We're going to start with you about that one.
So this is another one of your Sesame Street questions, Coach. One of these things is not like the other. So only one defenseman out of this list. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that it's the right answer or not, or if it's just a decoy? My guess is between A and E. I'm gonna go. I just don't think that Gudas fights as much. Not that Roussel fights a lot either. He was kind of he turtles a lot. But I'm gonna go with A, Gudas.
All right, KLS A. Roy A. Mike Babino, welcome back with A. Sebastian with A. Dan Asham with A. King of Gamer with A. Nartap, you follow your teammate or you follow most of the people in the chat who said, no, I'm going with my own decision.
I haven't narrowed it down, and I know you're tricky because I think this was intended for me because I've been proposing that Montreal gets this guy, and I think it's Delorier. I know he fights a lot, but I don't think he ever hit that high.
All right.
Oh my God!
We'll see what's happening. It's Nicolas Delorier. He needed this enough tap on that one over there. And Delorier is the winner of this contest, on this answer. Léon Renault, Claude Richard, and RJ Calabro, guys, take the lead at 2. The last question is an extra question. It's a little bit different because if someone have in the chat, if you put the name of the players in the chat, you cannot do another one. So you have to be careful. You have to wait. We did this a couple of months. Last year we did maybe a few times about that one there. So we go with the different tips, and you have to find who am I. So we try to get this one over there.
That's tough.
Yeah,
they're fun. I like the question.
And my software gave me a new way where I can drop the bar. It's new for the last couple of days ago. So I said, why not to try this one? So it's about my software.
It's a Thailand way.
About that one. So who am I? All right.
Coach Frenchy.
And we'll see what happening.
Coach Frenchy.
We'll see what happening. The first one, guys, is I was born in USA. You can take a risk if you want to, or you can wait. My second tip is I played 21 seasons in NHL.
Okay.
The third is I won the Stanley Cup 3 times.
Chris Chelios.
I never reached 50 points in one regular season and 21 seasons. And finally, my last one, guys, is my favorite jersey number is 7.
Chris Chelios.
Is this an active player?
It's a what?
Is it an active player? Or it can be
anybody? I will helping you guys. It's not an active player. So it's not active players. And you take a time, all right? I'll give you about approximately 1 or 2 minutes. And if you put a name over there, you cannot come back with another name. You done. So wait, we'll see what happening about this one. On that one, Gary can only go with Chris Chelios. This is what Gary said for his answer, Chris Chelios. It's not a bad idea. To make a little bit more fun about that, we're going to put the clock. But
I love these questions, Coach. These are great.
Chelios for Ronnie Odette and Roy Stroud. Roy, hopefully doing well. My neighbor from Bangkok. Don't forget, guys, do not click on the likes. Garrett, il était rapide, mon, oui, mon Triple W. Triple W, guys, is on the Fantasy Arcade this year. Is excited about that. With King of Gamer.
Look forward to that.
Chris Richard go with Chelios. Everybody go with Chris Chelios. Can they nail it? You and Artap and Marco, you can give us some name there if you want to.
I already said Chelios. Like after you revealed C, I said Chelios like 3 times.
Oh yeah,
Chelios.
I thought you was like
he did.
Okay.
He did.
I thought because I was reading the people in the chat, Chelios, and Marco was kind of get out behind you. Okay, let's ask you this question.
It's an Epiphone.
And Mr. Artap.
Man, I don't know. This is
All right, we're going to give you
I'll
that.
I'll go with Chelios. I'll go with Chelios.
Chelios. Everybody said Chelios in the chat. We did not get any other players. That's funny. We didn't get anyone give us. I think the number 7.
We're either all right or all wrong.
Number 7 guys maybe mess up. You think about this. We know Chelios was wearing number 24, but a player won the Stanley Cup a couple of times with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Matt Cullen.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I think Chelios played 27 years in NHL.
He had a long career.
Never reached 50 points?
No.
Wow.
I know. Me too. I look about this, and I think I have only 2 seasons, 20 goals. He has stopped at 49. That's the reason I put 50 over there.
Yeah, that was the only thing I wasn't sure, Chelios. I thought 21 might be a bit low, but all the other things sounded very much like Chris Chelios.
Yeah, exactly about this. I look at season again. Yeah, 25 goals 1 year, but he got 49 points on that one for Cullen, but he never get. He become more like a bottom 6 player with specialists on defensive zone and everything like that.
Yeah.
That was about part of that.
Career, like great example of a person that just reinvented himself and just found ways.
26 years for Chris Chelios. 26 years for Chris Chelios about that. So, so that's what complete the Frenchy Quiz. But the biggest question you ask me now, I said, but coach, man, who win? But we have 2 winners tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Léo Renaud win tonight, and Claude Richard are the winner, guys, of the contest of the Frenchy Quiz. I believe I could be wrong here, but I will have to check a little bit longer. I think this is the game number 1 for Léo Renaud as the winner. Claude Richard registered game number 4 of is the summer for him. I don't see Léo Renaud nowhere, but game for 1 for him will be number 1. Congratulations about that. Guys, we've been there. We did, honestly, we typed the 2 hours right there on the nail. For guys, it was a pretty good show, I think, for the second show of the weekly recap. Thanks, Marco, to join us. We have pleasure to come back anytime if we want to. We'll be back Wednesday night, the team together. Both of them will be with us for the locker room report. Will be interesting. We're going to talk about this. You have a couple of news for the Montreal Canadiens. Who knows what could happen about that. We want to thank all the moderators in the chat tonight. Luciano, I think, is hanging everything by himself, Mr. Artap, tonight. He was the only one. But all the people, our member or subscriber, the Hockey National Show, we said thank you so much to be a part of the show. A lot of great conversation in the chat. Great knowledgeable. We missed a couple of people. Hopefully see them during the next show. But again, we want to thank everyone. Thanks so much, both of you. And of course, we want to remind you one more thing. It's coming. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. They have greatness inside of them. And that's the reason they are here with me every single night. We talk about the Montreal Canadiens. So thanks so much about both of you. And of course, we want to remind everybody we are doing the game live stream tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow night talking about the Montreal Canadiens, of course, and the NHL news. Until the next time, of course, be well, BL. Find a way not only to donate your day, but find a way to donate the second half of 1% of that.
Year 2023. Of
You
course.
did it again. Have an amazing, great night, both of you. Thanks so much to be a part of the force with us. And of course, we want to say one more thing. Hockey Nation said to you, we love you, people. Have an amazing, great weeks, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Nerdtop. Thanks, Coach. Bye.
Good night.
Grip now of all the ways we parted. You showed in your own way we would stand and we would fall united. Come on, get a grip now. Just finish what you started. Don't like the feeling that I've been fooled, deceived, and so misguided. Oh, oh, oh. What do I know?
Booyah!